Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Silverstone for the second race of the weekend in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. We had one race yesterday that was very much rain affected, unfortunately. Whilst we haven't got a bone dry racetrack for you this morning, the conditions are infinitely better than they were yesterday afternoon. Not too much rain on the horizon either, so we're hoping for a dry day, and we'll really get to see the very best of Ginetta Junior racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. 14 degrees at the moment. It is quite muggy, quite humid, so there is this threat of rain at some point through the day. Not a huge amount of wind blowing the weather into this area though, so we're hoping that it does keep away for now. Yesterday's race, as I said, very much rain affected. It was not a true classic, it must be said, but we did have, in the brief bit of racing we had before rain stopped play, a really interesting battle between Freddie Slater and Alicia Palmowski. Alicia looking for the race victory for the first time. Freddie Slater, having won all of the 3 races at the season opener at Alton Park, was looking to try and continue his clean sweep through Silverstone, which he did, but only after Palmowski beat him away from the line into turn 1. Halfway around the first lap, though, Freddie Slater went through. There was then a shunt down at Stowe. That brought him out a safety car, from which we eventually restarted, only for there to be another incident at Copse Corner. The rain came in heavier and heavier, and unfortunately, that was it for the day. But as I said, this race, we're very, very hopeful that we're going to have the full 25 minutes. The first time that this championship has ever raced on the full Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone, and it's really the ideal place for these Ginetta G40s. Slightly limited on top speed, these particular versions, being the fact that it's a junior category, but that means the slipstream is so enormously important, and those long straights, the wide open spaces around Silverstone, mean that we should get some really, really exciting racing. Cars lining up then on the grid ahead of this second race, and Freddie Slater looking to try and continue this fantastic start to the season that he's had from pole position as well. So he's got the best place to start from, but we saw yesterday Alicia Palmowski got the better of him off the line. Charlie Hart, who starts third, well, he finished third in yesterday's race as well. The first change, if you like, is 4th place Mikey Porter. Mikey was 6th yesterday, but will be starting on the second row of the grid for this one, ahead of Hugo Schwarzer and Reza Sarurathan, who should move forward there from 6th, having briefly been in podium contention yesterday. 4 drivers in the end who weren't classified at the end of the race. Chase Fernandez and Finn Harrison were the 2 who tangled down at Stowe Corner on lap 1. Adi Robinson was the driver who went off at Copse on the restart. There was also a disqualification for Luca Hopkinson, who was disqualified for a failure to comply with safety car regulations. So either not slowing down, overtaking behind the safety car, there's a multitude of things that could have been, but he has been disqualified. So 16 cars to the line yesterday. Hopefully we'll get them all through this time around. So green flag lap then about to get underway. The black and blue and grey number 7 car is your pole sitter, Freddie Slater, who obviously is the championship leader because he hasn't been beaten yet this season. He hasn't quite taken a clean sweep as far as points are concerned, though. You get 35 points for winning a race in the Ginetta Junior Championship. There's then a bonus point for qualifying on pole position, and then another bonus point for setting the fastest race lap. And we have seen over the races thus far this season a few different drivers claiming that. Yesterday it was Leo Robinson who set the fastest race lap and took the bonus point. Today, though, it is the R-Racing driver Freddie Slater, the championship leader on pole. Alicia Palmowski starting 2nd, and then that second row of the grid shared by Charlie Hart, as I said, and Mikey Porter, and then row 3 for Hugo Schwarzer, the German, and Reza Sarurathan, another one of the R-Racing cars. R-Racing and Elite Motorsport actually claiming between them all of the top 7 places on the grid, because then it's Mackenzie Douglas for Elite alongside Assetto Racing's Chase Fernandez, hoping to get a bit further in today's race. Then Finn Harrison, with whom he tangled yesterday. He starts 9th on the grid, with Leo Robinson, the fastest driver in yesterday's race, starting 10th. 11th on the grid then for Henry Jocelyn, with Freddie Allen sharing the 6th row. Row 7 for Felix Livesey and Tom Spragg, the Zentech Motorsport driver, ahead of the PrepTech UK car. Ali Rushforth's Brea Anglish is next, alongside Harry Moss, with Holly Mile and Luca Hopkinson next. Adi Robinson starting from the back of the grid. So cars then making their way down towards Stowe Corner. And as we're seeing, track conditions are not too bad, a little damp and greasy, so the Michelin tyres are going to be working hard to give the drivers any sort of grip. We'll get a good idea of what sort of grip levels we have out there from our onboard cameras, which we're delighted to bring to you across our Ginetta action today. Reza Saburathan carrying one of them in this Ginetta Junior race, and we could see that car understeering quite badly heading through Club Corner. Tom Spragg produced probably some of the best onboard action of the day yesterday as he came charging through the order, finished 7th in the end, having started 13th. Bear in mind, we only had a couple of actual racing laps. And the little bit of racing that we had was very, very favourable for Tom Spragg, who really was the master of overtaking moves. So on board with Silverstone in the R Racing car, heading through the loop. And as I said, these sort of in-betweeny conditions, these are going to provide a real challenge for the drivers in this one, because we saw yesterday very much the wet racing line was the place to be, so going around the outside edge of the track basically through all of the corners. But some corners are drier than others right now, so in some parts of the track you're going to have to take the traditional dry racing line, and others you're going to have to take that wet line. A little bit of learning on the go will be done in these early laps. Could catch a few of them out as well. Down through Brooklands, one of the best passing places on the track, as the Ginetta G56 safety car leads them around to the grid ahead of 25 minutes of racing. Just the 2 races this weekend, as opposed to the 3 that we normally have, but that's because we have slightly longer races here, 25 minutes as opposed to 20. It's a longer lap as well here at Silverstone, so that's just to try and make sure that we actually get a decent amount of racing in, although yesterday's race only ran 10 minutes long and only had 3 laps of racing, well, 3 laps total in the end. But let's see what today's 5th round of the championship has in store for us. So, Freddie Slater, pole position. Alicia Palmowski alongside, looking for another one of her good starts from yesterday. Charlie Hart starts 3rd, ahead of Mikey Porter. Keep an eye to some of those coming from further back. Adu Robinson and Luca Hopkinson should move forward from the very back of the grid. You can see those two just pulling into position now. 18th and 19th on the grid as the Ginetta Juniors get set to get unleashed properly this time around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for 25 minutes of racing. Round number 5 of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Red lights go on the starting gantry. When they go out, we're away and racing. That happens now, and it's another good initial jump there from Palmowski, but this time Freddie Slater very much matching her on the way down towards Copse Corner. But no, the second phase of the start favours the Elite Motorsport driver, and for the second time this weekend, it's Palmowski who leads through the first turn. Second place then for Slater. Charlie Hart is not in 3rd. That's Mikey Porter, number 19, who's come up into the 3rd position. So Charlie Hart dropping down into 4th. He's the grey and black car. As single file, they make their way through Maggans and Beckett's. This is a very, very tame start. No, it's not, because Palmowski's off the road on the grass, and she spins in front of the pack. Alicia Palmowski off the road mercifully, because I thought there she was going to spin back into traffic. There are more cars off a little bit further back as well. It has all kicked off, and there is now secondary contact. Number 21, one of the cars, we've got 4 or 5 of them off the road. 21 was bouncing across the grass and rejoining. And there, that was Tom Spragg's on board, wasn't it? So Tom Spragg involved in that somehow. There is at least 1 car stricken at the side of the road, possibly other walking wounded as well. It's Slater who leads the way. Mikey Porter is in 2nd position. I suspect, by the way, the car that I thought was 21 might have been 31, Felix Livesey, who was grass tracking his way back onto the road. But this, the lead battle, heading down through the Vale into the club sequence of corners. And Freddie Slater, the race leader, they're 2 and 3 wide further back as teammates at play. That was number 90 up the inside, gaining a place. Chase Fernandez, or trying to gain a place, but almost then getting tapped wide. And that was Finn Harrison again, wasn't he, with those two who tangled yesterday, again making friends. On board with Reza Saburathan, who has dropped down the order, possibly as a result of some of the early incidents through Maggots and Beckett's. A very energetic start to the race, and Alicia Palmowski will be kicking herself for that little moment, possibly a damp patch catching her out as they went through Maggots and Beckett's for the first time, and cold tyres as well won't have helped. And around she went into the braking zone at Village. Silverstone going up the inside. Is that move going to be a success against the number 24 car? It doesn't look like it will, because the next turn is left-hander, so Mackenzie Douglas in the blue and black car will stay ahead for now. Ahead of him, side-by-side, was that for third? Well, it's definitely side-by-side for fifth, because Silverstone gets a better exit from the loop, gets to the inside through Aintree, and does he take the wide line on the exit? Yes, he does. Well, that's because way out onto the grass has gone Mackenzie Douglas. He sheds his rear bodywork, and the car a little bit lighter now than it once was. It's also a bit further down the order than it was a couple of moments ago, because through has gone Chase Fernandez, Finn Harrison and the 37 of Leo Robinson. Those three all actually were involved in one way or another in the incident down at Stowe yesterday. But the 24 car of Mackenzie Douglas, unfortunately, losing even more places than we thought he would. You can see there the rear bodywork has gone. That won't really affect performance too much, though. He's out in the dirt again coming out of Luffield, as Leo Robinson made absolutely sure of the move. And they come through to complete the end of lap number 1. Freddie Slater leads by 1.3 seconds now over Mikey Porter in second. Charlie Hart third. Hugo Schwarzer is fourth. Reza Swarathan with a real up and down opening lap is back into 5th place again now, actually 1 place higher than he started. And then Chase Fernandez up into 6th position. Biggest mover, unsurprisingly perhaps, was Luca Hopkinson from the back of the grid to 12th, and thus far we are missing 5 of them. Felix Livesey has not made it through, amongst others, as there was a change for 4th position now. Reza Swarathan getting himself ahead of Hugo Schwarzer as they went through Maggots Beckett's. And now we'll set off after Charlie Hart in 3rd place. But yeah, Livesey, Spragg, oh, here comes Tom Spragg. So I think there's 4 of them that have gone missing on the opening lap. Livesey, Anglis, Moss and Mile. Palmowski did come through in 13th place, but some 15 seconds off the race lead. You can just see her actually at the back of shot there, the yellow and black Elite Motorsport car. Dive up the inside into Stowe Corner. That's Swarathan trying to claim 3rd place from Charlie Hart, who left the door wide open. They're all skating wide, trying to work out where the grip is through Stowe. Leo Robinson there very wide in the 37. And he will get pinged for track limits if you keep going wide at that particular part of the circuit. They're definitely monitoring it on the exit of Stowe. That could lead to a penalty if you keep on doing it. Chase Fernandez now tries to fend off the recovering Mackenzie Douglas. Head out past the wing, down the Lewis Hamilton straight, in towards the dauntingly quick right-hander at Abbey Corner. We have a safety car, and that will be why, because one of those cars that I said had gone missing on lap 1 is parked at the side of the road past the wing. Now, which one is that? Is that Moss, perhaps, number 47? I think it might be. So, safety car out. No, that is Moss. That's Harry Moss, so he's limping back with damage. So, unfortunately, a few of them, 4 in total, look as though they're going to be non-finishers. Bray Anglis, we think it is, who was stopped at the side of the road down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. So multiple cars to be recovered after that eventful opening lap of the race means the safety car is scrambled. Harry Moss looks like he's going to get back to the pits, but the likelihood of seeing that car back out again in this race is pretty slim. So Freddie Slater's lead that he was starting to build up is eradicated. The one big beneficiary of this, really, is Alicia Palmowski, because I just mentioned she was 15 seconds off the race lead. Well, she's still going to be maybe 6 or 7 seconds off the race lead on the restart, but she'll catch the pack at least. So a race victory might no longer be on the cards, but Elite Motorsport will be watching as she hopefully moves up the order a bit when we go racing once more. On board with Swarathan. Started 6th, dropped down to about 7th or 8th at one point. He's back into the top 4 again now. As they come past the pits, they'll be picked up by the Ginetta G56 safety car, and we will have a chance to catch our breath and also try and dissect some of the things that went on that opening lap of the race. Here is the initial start, so everyone away cleanly. At the front of the pack, it was Palmowski who had the advantage down into Copse Corner. There you can see it was a pretty even initial jump, but as they went up from 1st to 2nd gear, Palmowski was able to get the jump on Freddie Slater. There you can see she was able actually to turn clean across his nose onto the racing line into Copse Corner. Good start made by Porter into 3rd, ahead of Charlie Hart. They were both going to have a lucky escape when we got down to Maggots Beckett's. Palmowski, as she turns into the right-hander at Beckett's, just a little twitch look on the apex, a bit too much speed, onto the grass she goes, almost had it saved, but then that transition back onto the tarmac sent her around, And further back, a secondary incident. That was Bray Anglis getting tagged into a spin, I think, by Tom Spragg. And there was then a third bit of contact further back. This was Tom Spragg's view and has a wobble going through Beckett's. That actually doesn't send him around. There's a car somewhere to the left. Bang! So it was the other way round. Spragg getting collected by Anglis, who had already been off. And then up the road, you can see Pawlowski rejoining, having knocked down one of the Pirelli markers. Tom Spragg goes rally crossing to get back on the road. But actually, Tom Spragg, fairly innocent in all of that. That was Silverstone up the inside of Mackenzie Douglas, who goes through the water splash, sheds the rear bodywork. Does a good job, actually, to save the slide, but drops a lot further down the order than he would have liked to have been. So a very, very lively start to the race. There is the damaged car of Harry Moss in the pit lane. The Fox Motorsport team go to work, but there's definitely bodywork damage. That we can all see, but I suspect suspension damage as well. Car looked as though it was crabbing when it came in, and the safety car gives them half a chance, I suppose, of getting him back out there before the race finishes. Holly Miles' Fox Motorsport car off as well. Not a good day so far for Fox. We have two cars requiring assistance. Can't see any obvious damage on that car, but Holly wouldn't have pulled over for no reason. There must be a knock that she's had somewhere. Even the race leader's car looks a bit mud spattered, doesn't it, on the front of the number 7 of Freddie Slater. But time and again, he just seems to get himself out of these tricky situations. Yesterday, it looked as though Pawlowski was going to give him a real run for his money, as it appeared would be the case today in the opening couple of corners. But once more, within the next half a lap or so, he was back in front with a reasonable lead over Mikey Porter. So Slater leads the way, Porter second, Hart third, Sverth fourth, then Schwarzer and Fernandez completing the top 6. Leo Robinson is 7th. Leo Robinson started 10th, has gained 3 places from where he started, ahead of Finn Harrison, then Mackenzie Douglas 9th after that brassy moment at Aintree. The top 10 completed by the number 26 of Henry Jocelyn, with Pawlowski 11th. So Pawlowski, work to be done, but has, as I said, at least now caught up to the rest of the pack. Going to need at least one more lap, I suspect, of safety car. As we saw, the Holly Mile car was not yet recovered, and I don't think they've got the car on the international pit straight either yet. So one more lap at least for the drivers to tour around. And no, I once again have been proven incorrect. So great work by the recovery crews and the marshals to get all of those cars removed. And we're going to go racing this time. So we'll have 15 minutes or so left on the clock upon the resumption of racing. Freddie Slater in no great hurry to accelerate away, is he? Keeping them all bunched up, being given an assistance through Brooklands corner by Mikey Porter in second place. Mikey literally pushing him around Brooklands, saying, come on, get on with it, get on with it. I'm going to accelerate exactly when you do. And the 2R Racing teammates might indeed try to coordinate this a little bit and work together. Away now goes Slater, just as he did actually on the restart yesterday. Halfway round Luffield is when he chooses to hit the loud pedal, and we get racing back underway again here at Silverstone. Round 5 of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. And it was a decent restart from both of the R Racing cars, actually. It's Charlie Hart in third, who finds himself a touch vulnerable, maybe, to attack as they head down towards the right-hander at Copse. Side-by-side action further back. Pawlowski there moving up the inside as well. That would have been Jocelyn, I reckon. Yes, it was the Henry Jocelyn car that she's got past. Sverth side-by-side, and actually looks as though he might be losing a place here. That must be Chase Fernandez alongside as they go towards Maggots and Beckett's, but Chase thinks better of that and ducks back in line behind the third of the R Racing cars inside the top 5 right now. R Racing and Elite Motorsport continuing their dominance in this race. Some bodywork going flying from somebody there. There is Pawlowski, so was 11th. We now believe is into 10th place ahead of Henry Jocelyn. And the next target will be Mackenzie Douglas ahead. Drop down towards Stowe Corner. Slipstream starts to take effect now, but not really for the race leader. Freddie Slater under no threat into the braking zone. We do have a move made, though, by Leo Robinson up the inside into Stowe. And he takes 6th place away from Chase Fernandez, but then runs a little bit too wide. Fernandez looks to try and get the switch back. That'll put him back alongside, but on the outside line into the braking zone at the bottom of the Vale. How's that one going to sort itself out? Top 5 single file, 6th place is where the battle is. They're still side by side, and it will be Robinson who manages to make the move stick. So Fernandez down to 7th. His teammate right behind as well, on board with Sverth. 5th place now for the number 78 car. And Charlie Hart, perhaps the one having to get his defending boots on now because he's got Hugo Schwarzer right behind him. Hugo, one of the front runners at Alton for the season opener as well. Managed to get himself 3 podium finishes to arrive here at Silverstone, second in the championship. And he wants to try and get himself back onto the podium again, but he has to attack and defend simultaneously. He's trying to find a way past Charlie Hart, whilst Reza Saburathan goes around the outside of him. That's a brilliant bit of driving from the number 78 car, which might even convert it into a double overtake. Get briefly up alongside Charlie Hart coming out of the loop. That won't work, and it might have delayed Reza now coming out of the turn. No, around the outside goes Hugo Schwarzer. I wonder where Hugo had gone, and he does go back through, so Schwarzer reclaims 4th position. And that was a little bit of greediness maybe creeping in there for Saburathan. Tried to get up the inside of Hart through the loop from a little way back. That delayed him because it didn't work, and the tight line is the slower line through there in these conditions. And it meant that he was then vulnerable going into Aintree Corner. Palmowski, meanwhile, up ahead of Chase Fernandez now. So that should be 9th place, 2 places gained at least on this restart lap. Fernandez has fallen behind Mackenzie Douglas too on that lap. The leader, though, comes through with already a pretty healthy margin. That's got to be a second at least now, back to Mikey Porter in 2nd place. Yeah, 1.1 seconds the gap. Hart 3rd, Schwarzer 4th, Saburathan 5th. So officially, no change of positions inside the top 5 on that lap, but we know that wasn't quite true. And Leo Robinson, Finn Harrison, Mackenzie Douglas, Alicia Palmowski is 9th, and Chase Fernandez in 10th. Screeching of tyres, but everyone staying on the road, sort of, coming out of Copse Corner. And up towards Magnus Beckett's, where Palmowski now looks to try and get a run on the 2 cars ahead of her. So this is Finn Douglas and... Mackenzie Douglas and Finn Harrison. Finn Harrison, the number 38 car. Kicks up the mud, runs very, very wide indeed, and this is going to give Douglas a run. Can Palmowski benefit from this as well? Double slipstream down the hanger straight is never a bad thing to have. Stowe Corner, one of the best places to try and launch an attack. Look at the way they're bunching up for second as well, with Mikey Porter feeling the heat now from Hart and Schwarzer. Saburathan and Robinson right with them as well. No change in this little battle pack into the right-hander. 11 minutes to go. Palmowski could do with getting past these 2 quickly if she's to have any chance of breaking into the top 5, because this little group, as much as they're battling, they are getting away. Very different lines there through the left-hander and a little bit of leaning on each other. Charlie Hart coming out worse from that because Hugo Schwarzer sees his opportunity to get through on the inside. So too does Saburathan, and this could be 2 places lost now for Charlie Hart. Out of Club Corner, Saburathan's made that move stick. So a slightly odd line really taken by Mikey Porter through the left-hand part of the club chicane. And that really, I think, confused Charlie Hart a bit. He kind of half committed to a move on the inside. Didn't really know which way to go. Palmowski, meanwhile, has got past both of those cars whilst we weren't watching. So, or has got past Douglas at least. Here comes Schwarzer up the inside for second. To the outside goes Saburathan. Lovely move from Hugo. 2 places gained in the last 2 or 3 corners. And the number 33 car up to 2nd place now. Porter down to 3rd. Saburathan will have a much better exit, you'd imagine, from the loop. Can't quite get up the inside. Charlie Hart, meanwhile, battling away there with Leo Robinson for 5th place. And I think Leo's going to go past him as well. So Charlie Hart losing another spot, whilst it's all kicking off behind with Mackenzie Douglas side by side. Heading down the straight. That is Hopkinson, isn't it? Number 12 coming up the inside of him as there's contact, and around goes Mikey Porter. Almost collected by his teammate there, but that was contact with Hugo Schwarzer. Porter was coming back at him round the outside, and Hugo Schwarzer was not giving in. The 2 of them tangle, and around goes Porter. Thankfully, no major damage done. He gets back on the road just ahead of Chase Fernandez, so he might just about have stayed inside the top 10 there. That was an unfortunate moment. No damage at all done to the number 19. Bit of a tyre mark on the left-hand side, but that's as bad as it gets, damage-wise. Benefits Palmowski. She's into 7th place now. Still not quite found a way past Finn Harrison. As they round Copse Corner for the 6th time of asking. Lots of drivers, by the way, being warned about track limits, including the race leader. So Freddie Slater... also Mikey Porter being warned about track limits, so is Alicia Palmowski and Chase Fernandez. They've all been shown the black and white warning flag for track limits, which means if they do it again, they'll start picking up time penalties. So as much as the likes of Palmowski and Fernandez are trying to fight their way through the order, they've got to do it without straying beyond the edge of the track. And if they do, then that will start to alter the race order again. Freddie Slater 3.8 seconds up the road at the start of the lap from Hugo Schwarzer second, Reza Saburathan third, Charlie Hart fourth, fifth place then for Leo Robinson as we get a replay now of the contact. Schwarzer defended the inside, so Porter thought, right, I'll go around the outside, it's a bit drier here, and maybe he had more grip than Schwarzer, who appeared to understeer wide and collected the number 19 car. This was Reza Saburathan's view, a grandstand view of what was unfolding ahead, and look how close this car comes to colliding with the number 19. There may have been a small touch actually, but no major damage done. Yeah, look, Reza's lost a headlight, right front headlight from that car, so there was a touch as the 19 went around, but not slowing Reza down at all. Right on the tail now of Hugo Schwarzer in this battle for second place. As again, all of them make friends with the apex through Abbey Corner. It's difficult to be the leader of the group in this situation because you're the one who's sort of scoping out the track, seeing where the grip is, which line you should take, how committed you can be into the corners. Everyone behind can sort of gauge their pace from you. And perhaps that's why Hugo Schwarzer, having broken through to the front of the pack, can't escape. That's Alicia Palmowski, meanwhile, battling with Finn Harrison. Palmowski has got ahead of Finn, and that now puts Alicia into the top 6. So 7 minutes to go. A top 5 is definitely on the cards, perhaps even a podium. Freddie Slater there, confirmation of that fastest lap, 247.661. Comfortably faster than everybody else. He went purple again in Sector 1 on this lap, but Hugo Schwarzer purple in Sector 3, meaning quicker than anyone else has been through that part of the track so far. As there, Robinson and Hart continue to battle for 4th position. Charlie Hart will be a touch frustrated, I think, with the way this race has gone. Has had podium pace, definitely, all weekend long. Ended up getting onto the podium just in yesterday's race, but be a little bit disappointed if he can't make it into the top 3 in this race again, especially having lost all of those places through one tiny little mistake. But still time to regain that lost ground. He has, though, got Alicia Palmowski now within a second of him. Time penalties, the first of, I suspect, several, and this is for Felix Livesey. A 5-second penalty for the number 31 car. Now Felix is running down in 14th anyway. Confirmation there from race control of the penalty, but that will be for track limits, and it probably won't lose him a place because he's 12 seconds ahead of Henry Jocelyn, but if some of the front runners who are on their final warning were to get a penalty, that could really change things. Reza Saburathan here, trying his best to find a way back ahead of Hugo Schwarzer down the Hangar Straight. Elite Motorsport versus R Racing. This is going to be one of the real storylines of Ginetta Juniors in 2023. Is there going to be an overlap here? He's looking to the outside, commits now on the brakes, much later on the brakes there on the outside line, and if he can find the grip, and Hugo leaves him space, this might just work. He's running out of road, just keeps it on the island. Has he still got the inside line? Yes, he has. So Reza Saburathan going for second position. Late on the brakes, into the left-hander, yes, manages to go through. So second place now belongs to Saburathan, who has had a very, very entertaining race up and down inside the top half dozen, but now back into second place. So through the right-hander at Abbey, they're about to go. As they head through that quick right-hander, Alicia Palmowski now into 6th place, chasing down the 4th place battle between Robinson and Hart. There are Saburathan and Schwarzer battling for 2nd place. Charlie Hart here, if he starts having a real go at Leo Robinson, he's going to find himself being caught even more quickly by Palmowski. If these two start battling, they will delay each other, and Alicia will be on them in a heartbeat. Probably got time for 2 more laps at the end of this one, as Mackenzie Douglas now is given a black and white warning flag for track limits. Here comes Schwartz now. Is he going to try and go around the outside here? Ooh, that was brave, and Saburathan wasn't leaving him any space on the way into Brooklands. What about the exit speed? The 33 car with a wider line in should be able to carry better speed towards Luffield. Bruised and battered Reza Saburathan's car is retaining 2nd place for now. Runs a little bit wide out of Luffield. That wasn't a brilliant exit from the corner, and again that slipstream now starts to bring Schwarzer back onto his tail. Across the line goes Freddie Slater, continuing to lead handsomely. but he's no longer getting the bonus point for the fastest lap, because that man there is Reza Sarurathan with a 46.7, was 4/10 quicker than the leader that time, who has got a 5-second penalty. Freddie Slater, I said he was on his final warning for track limits. He's been given a 5-second penalty. He is 4 seconds ahead of Sarurathan, who, as I just said, was quicker than him on the previous lap. So there is the confirmation of the number 31 car of Felix Livesey being given one, but on the timing screen it tells me that number 7 Freddie Slater is also receiving a penalty. So this is now the fight for the race lead at the moment between Sarurathan and Schwarzer. And if these two drivers know about that, they'll be even more incentivised to get the better of each other. So Freddie Slater, unless he can break more than 5 seconds clear of those two, is not going to win this race at the end of the next lap. He'll be helped, though, by the two battling behind, because, again, Sarurathan's having to drive defensively into Stowe. Around the outside of him looks to go Hugo Schwarzer to get the switch back on the exit, and that really worked. You could see him hook up in the middle of the corner, carried so much more speed down the hill that he might even clear Sarurathan into the braking zone. He does just about, but Reza surely is going to commit to a move on the inside. Yes, he does. Wheel to wheel they go, and this is playing beautifully into the hands of the race leader, who had been losing time to them on the first part of the lap, but they're really starting to trip over each other now. Schwarzer still hasn't got this move made, and Sarurathan's going to hang on tenaciously round the outside. The irony being that the harder they fight for the race win, the more likely they are to lose it, really. Because in that middle sector alone, they dropped about 3/4 of a second to the race leader, and probably more again in sector 3. They are still side by side. Fantastic racing this through Abbey Corner. Out wide over the curbs goes Sarurathan, finally makes the move stick. And look at the way now that Robinson, Hart and Palmovsky are catching them as well. Side by side through the loop. Hart up the inside of Robinson now for 4th position. Don't know where to look in this race, do you? But they're handing it on a plate really now to Freddie Slater. Schwarzer with a much better exit there from the loop, back up the inside towards Aintree Corner, and I think will now clear Sarurathan, but who will then duck back into the slipstream, perhaps down the Wellington Straight, side by side between Hart and Robinson. I reckon Palmovsky might try and make this 3 wide into the braking zone. Let's see how these two battles play out then. Schwarzer and Sarurathan first. That's going to go the way of the number 33, I think, on the way into Brooklands at least. Charlie Hart gets the better of Leo Robinson. Can Palmovsky benefit too and get alongside? Yes, she can. There's a bit of a hip and shoulder as they turn into Luffield Corner. But coming off the turn, I think that Robinson will hang on. Now, all of this battling, as I suspected, is playing into the hands of Freddie Slater. Remember, he's got a 5-second penalty to be added on at the end of the race. And as he comes through now to start his final lap of the race, let's see officially what the gap is. It is 5.2 seconds. So Schwarzer and Sarurathan need to work together on the final lap. Otherwise, neither of them will win the race, and Freddie Slater will win it after all. Battle here behind them still raging on. Charlie Hart back up the inside of Robinson through Copse Corner. And Palmovsky keen to try and benefit from this, but can't find a way past either of them. There goes Sarurathan back ahead of Schwarzer, who gets the switch back through Beckett. It's a terrific battle, this, but I fear it's only going to be for 2nd place now. Schwarzer back up the inside as they head towards Chapel Corner, and out onto that hanger straight. Wheel to wheel they continue to run. Great racing respect, though, being given by both of the youngsters. All of the drivers on this grid are teenagers, remember. It is easy to forget that sometimes when you see the quality of racing that they're producing. Slater then continuing to gap them through the first sector, I would imagine, as they're once again side by side. Yep, they lost another 8/10 to him in sector 1, so the race victory now should go the way of Slater. It's all about who will join him on the podium and in which order. Sarurathan and Schwarzer neck and neck as they come out of Stowe Corner. Palmovsky's up alongside Charlie Hart and will have the clearer outside run into the braking zone at Club. So keep your eye on both of these battles that are actually converging as one, really, on this final lap. Schwarzer back to 2nd, on board with Sarurathan as he comes through Club Corner. Now, is this the best place to be, maybe, 2nd place with half a lap to go? Because he will have that slipstream not only down this straight, but perhaps more importantly, down the Wellington Straight towards the braking zone at Brooklands. This is the kind of slipstreaming Ginetta Junior action we were hoping to bring you this morning, and they have certainly delivered on that. Through Abbey Corner, Schwarzer trying to build a big enough margin that he doesn't have to defend when they get down to the end of the Wellington Straight. Doesn't feel the need to cover the inside at Village, but it's the next big braking zone, really, at Brooklands that is the place we could see the move made. Palmovsky, frustratingly, still hasn't got past Charlie Hart or past Leo Robinson. So Palmovsky still stuck in 6th place, but it's all about to be settled, heading down towards Brooklands Corner. That is Mackenzie Douglas, by the way, dicing away with Finn Harrison round the outside. Douglas tried to take 7th away from Harrison, but wasn't quite able to do it. Down into the braking zone we go. Palmowski's up the inside of Charlie Hart, but that might be the only move we see, actually, because Schwartz has done a good job through the middle part of the lap to pull away slightly from Reza Samurathan. Palmowski does get ahead of Charlie Hart. So the two Elite Motorsport drivers swapping places, and that might now be the order in which they finish. Out of Luffield corner they go, and well, despite a track limit scare, it looks as though Freddie Slater will keep his 100% winning record alive. 5 races, 5 race victories for the championship leader, and let's officially get the gap. Remember, a 5-second penalty to be added, and he only gets it by half a second, so he backed off almost too much in the final sector. He was 5.5 seconds clear at the flag, so the official winning margin is 0.5 of a second. From Hugo Schwartz a second, Samurathan third, Robinson fourth, Palmowski in fifth, with Charlie Hart in 6th position. Did lose out, as we saw, to Palmowski in the final few corners. So Slater gets the win, but, well, actually, I'll say he backed off. He didn't really. He did a purple 2nd sector on that final lap and a personal best in the 3rd sector. The problem was that Schwartz was going even more quickly and took about half a second out of him in the final sector alone. So Hugo Schwartz, with another lap, would definitely have got within the 5-second bracket. The fastest lap, by the way, set by Leo Robinson on the final lap of the race. So Leo Robinson has taken both of the fastest lap bonus points this weekend. And that will gain him a little bit of an advantage points-wise. Leo, coming into the weekend, was 9th in the points, had 3 points paying finishes at Alton Park, but not yet had a top 5. And, well, he's got one now with a 4th place finish in that race and fastest lap to boot. In fact, I tell a slight lie, because he and Reza Samurathan both set identical lap times. So actually, it'd be interesting to see who set it first. It would have been Samurathan, I think. Anyway, Freddie Slater gets the race victory by the skin of his teeth in the end over Hugo Schwartz in 2nd, Samurathan 3rd, and Leo Robinson 4th, meaning 3 of the R Racing Brigade making into the top 4 finishing positions. Alicia Palmowski was the first of the non-rookies in 5th place, ahead of Charlie Hart and Mackenzie Douglas, with Finn Harrison, Mikey Porter and Chase Fernandez completing the top 10. Nick Hopkinson was next, ahead of A.D. Robinson and Freddie Allen, with Felix Livesey and Henry Jocelyn the last of the finishers. We lost, unfortunately, in the lap 1 melees, Harry Moss, also Tom Spragg, Freya Anglis and Holly Mile. But great work by the marshals to get those cars recovered. Meant we only had 1 lap in the end of safety car interruption, and some fantastic racing was had after that point. So, 2nd race of the weekend, certainly living up to the billing, and a reasonably close finish in the end, albeit not on track, but a real charge there by Hugo Schwartz in the closing stages almost gave him the race win. Well, as the lights went out, it was another Slater versus Palmowski battle into the first corner, and as we saw yesterday, Alicia Palmowski got the advantage through Copse Corner. Sadly, though, her lead would be even more short-lived than it was in the opening race on Saturday afternoon. All of them got cleanly through Copse Corner, but when they descended upon Maggots and Beckett's, it all kicked off. Palmowski had a wobble on a damp patch of track, slid across the grass from the race lead and spun in front of the pack, miraculously avoided by everybody else, but further back there was carnage. Tom Spragg sideways through Beckett's, got a big whack as he turned through the next left-hander, and his car was wounded to the point that he couldn't make it to the flag, and we had to have 1 lap behind the safety car to recover the damaged cars. On the restart, Freddie Slater immediately started to build up his lead, but as he did so, he was exceeding track limits. He was given a final warning and was then given a 5-second penalty, from which he would have to try and build a lead in order to retain the victory. Palmowski was charging through the order, though. That safety car really benefiting her, and she was moving well inside the top 10 pretty much as soon as the green flags were back out. Mikey Porter then involved in some contact with Hugo Schwartz, and very slight contact with his teammate Reza Samurathan as he tried to take avoiding action. And Reza and Hugo would be really the centre of the entertainment in the closing stages as they battled for 2nd whilst also trying to chase down the race leader. Charlie Hart fell down the order slightly through the mid part of the race and would lose another spot before the flag to Alicia Palmowski. But Freddie Slater, by half a second only once that 5-second penalty was applied, claimed his 5th race victory of the season from 5 races. A dominant start to the season for Freddie Slater. So drivers make their way down into pit lane, then they will shortly be up onto the podium to celebrate another race win for Freddie Slater. A cracking race here around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Welcome everybody to the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, a very special day in the 2023 Intelligent Money British GT Championship because it is Silverstone 500 Day, the arguably biggest race of the season, a 3-hour spectacular around the home of British motor racing with pit strategies, a massive grid,